Shalom Uvracha. In the first wondrous encounter between Moshe Rabbeinu and Hashem and God, Moshe Rabbeinu asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu the following. He says, what happens if the Jewish people will ask me, what's the name of this God who is going to redeem us from Egypt? What shall I tell them? And then Hashem replies, you shall tell them, Ekyeh Asher Ekyeh. That's the first stage of the answer. The second stage, this is what you shall tell the Jewish people. Ekyeh Shlachani Aleichem. Ekyeh, this name that only occurs here, we don't find it anywhere else in the Torah. He sent you. And then in the third stage, we have the regular name of Hashem, the Shem Havaya Baruch Hu. And the Pasuk says, Hashem, the God of your forefathers, the God of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, He's the one who's going to redeem you. Zeh Shmi Le'olam, this is my name for eternity. V'zeh Zichri L'dor Dor, this is my mention for all generations. So what's the question of the Jewish people? What are they worried about? Why do they need to know the name? And what's the answer that Hashem gives? What is this dialogue that Moshe Rabbeinu envisages between the Jewish people and the response that Hashem gives through Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu understood that the Jewish people were enslaved in Egypt. As slaves, you don't have relationships. All you have is transactions. It's what you get and what you have to give. That's what slavery is about. Slavery negates the very capacity to be in true relationship. That's what Gemara says about slaves, that sometimes people prefer to be in slavery because you don't have the emotional tax of being in a deep relationship. But slavery means you're not able to be in that relationship. You're enslaved. Even your connection to others is enslaved to your master. In that sense, Moshe Rabbeinu expects the Jewish people to ask the question, what's his name? Meaning, what does he want? What does God want from us that we need to give in order that he will redeem us? What's the transaction? Hashem's answer is, there's no transaction. The ultimate answer is the Shem Havaya Baruch Hu. And what is the Shem Havaya? Says the Gra, the Vilna Gaon, that the Shem Havaya means that Hashem is present always. Meaning, His present, even in the sense of present tense, is continuous. He's just here. He's present continuously. Havaya, to be. Hashem always is. He always is. He's always present. The Vilna Gaon actually argues with the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, in the beginning of Orach Chaim, says that the Shem Havaya means Haya, Hoive, V'yiyeh, past, present, and future. Says the Gra, to speak about past, present, and future is also a certain deficiency, because you're subject to the passage of time. And Hashem is not subject to that. He doesn't have even that weakness, even that deficiency of being under the dominion of the passage of time. That doesn't apply to God. Hashem, Shem Havaya, is always present, always is. But to understand what the Shem Havaya is, Moshe Rabbeinu receives an introduction. Ekyeh Asher Ekyeh. And the name Ekyeh derives from the word Eheyeh, I shall be. Meaning, to be, says Hashem, is what my name is all about. It's the being itself. There's no transaction. I don't need anything. The Jewish people don't have to give me. It's not about transaction. All it is about the relationship. All it is about the being together with the Jewish people. So when Hashem tells it to Moshe Rabbeinu at the beginning, it's Eheyeh, I shall be. First of all, it's with an Aleph, because it's in the first person. And second of all, it's with a Yud at the end, because the meaning is, I shall be. That is the name of Hashem, says Hashem. It's the being itself, without requiring anything, without any characteristics that need to be fed in some way by the people. Ultimately, says Hashem, the name that the people will call me by is Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the Yud replaces the Aleph to make a first person into third person, Yud Kei Vav Kei. And, says the Vilna Gaon, the letter Yud switches into the letter Vav, like we find in the name Chava, the wife of Adam HaRishon. She's named after the word Chai, life, but the Yud transitions, switches into a letter Vav, and that's how we get Yud Ke Vav Ke. That's the ultimate name, the being itself, no transaction, the relationship, and that's it. And here we also have an introduction. How do we get to the name? We get to the name through the idea of Eheyeh, I shall be, and that I shall be transitions into the name Yud Ke Vav Ke. Even today, all that we have with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the relationship. That relationship includes many aspects, the Torah and the mitzvahs and our davening and so on. But ultimately what's underlying all of those aspects is the relationship itself, the trust and the love. That's how we came out from Mitzrayim, from a system of slavery to a system of relationship. And that's our connection both with Hashem and with our fellow man. Not a connection of transaction, not a connection of give and take, but a connection of ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, of loving your fellow as yourself, which is why we came out of Mitzrayim. We should all have a beautiful Shabbos.